There was no way anyone could have known.
Truly is a family's worst nightmare. In this case, 9-year-old Elizabeth Olton from Cole County has been missing since yesterday evening.
Night is slipping away and still no sign of Elizabeth.
Now, Elizabeth was not a type of girl who would walk in the woods by herself.
A missing persons report is sent out to neighboring law enforcement agencies and the FBI.
Right now, she's listed as an endangered missing person.
She was last seen on her way to play with her 6-year-old neighbor, Emma. And during the time Elizabeth goes missing, all the neighbor kids are accounted for. Well, most of them.
Only left one person.
Alyssa Bustamante. Alyssa, as in 15-year-old Alyssa Bustamante, Emma's older half-sister.
I heard Alyssa say she dug the hole.
Sergeant Rice is suspicious of this empty hole. He notes it is the perfect size for a small child, just like Elizabeth. Then the FBI agent spots something else in Alyssa's bedroom.
A diary.
She tells Sergeant Rice it was an accident.
That is one of the most reprehensible motives for murder that exists in humankind, and that is to murder a person for the thrill of murdering them.
Until after the certification hearing, that you not release the identity of that individual. That's what we're asking at this point.
Juvenile court officials confirmed today they are seeking a petition of first-degree murder against a 15-year-old suspect for the killing of 9-year-old Elizabeth Olton.
15-year-old girl from Jefferson City area will be tried as an adult for first-degree murder charges. Alyssa Bustamante.
I don't think there is anywhere that she should be besides prison ever.
I hate her, that she's ruined everyone in my family's life.
I hope justice is served. I have her picture on my wall. Every night I tell her I love her, and I'm sorry I wasn't there to protect her. Every single night.
She shouldn't be sent in prison. She should die too.
St. Martin's, Missouri, is a small town with just over 1,000 people, surrounded by green hills and farms near the Osage River. While it may seem like a peaceful country place to outsiders, there were troubling things happening behind one innocent-looking home in this community. For the past 7 years, 15-year-old Alyssa Bustamante had been living there with her maternal grandparents. Despite a challenging early childhood, she seemed mostly normal to her friends. However, online, she showed a strange interest in death and pain. In private, she wrote about wondering what it might feel like to kill someone. On October 21st, 2009, Alyssa decided to find out. Her target that evening was 9-year-old Elizabeth Olton, who lived nearby. Elizabeth, known for her infectious smile and bright pink rain boots, was a beloved neighbor. She considered Alyssa a friend. No one could have expected that this sweet child's bright future would be stolen by Alyssa. The peaceful autumn evening in St. Martin's was about to turn into something unimaginably violent. Two key figures in this upcoming chaos were now on a collision course: the brooding teen with disturbing impulses and the smiling girl who innocently trusted her. As they met along a wooded path behind Alyssa's home, tragedy was about to unfold. Alyssa Bustamante was born on January 28, 1994, to a troubled family. Her mother, Michelle, battled addiction issues and mental health problems, while her father, Caesar, had violent tendencies that landed him in prison. With her parents unable to care for Alyssa and her 3 younger siblings, custody was granted to her maternal grandparents when she was 8. The children went to live with Gary and Karen Brooke on a quiet ranch in St. Martin's, Missouri, a pastoral setting that seemed the perfect antidote to their chaotic early years. And for a while, Alyssa appeared happy and stable. She did well in school, attended her Mormon church regularly, and made friends in the community. But by age 13, she was battling depression and tried to take her own life. She spent 10 days in a psychiatric facility, which prescribed antidepressants. However, Alyssa continued self-harming through cutting. Friends would later report seeing dozens of scars lining her arms. She also created disturbing online personas obsessed with pain, death, and murder. Even though Alyssa showed signs of having problems on the inside, she seemed to have good friendships and a busy social life. She wrote a lot in her journals, sharing poems and personal thoughts. In one entry, she hinted at the violence she would later do to her innocent neighbor. Dark thoughts had been growing in Alyssa's mind for years, and on that October night, they finally turned into something harmful. The day likely began like any other for Elizabeth Olten. The outgoing 9-year-old asked her mother Patricia if she could go play at the Bustamante house just a few doors down. At approximately 5 p.m. on October 21st, Elizabeth cheerfully headed out, wearing her beloved pink rain boots. But when she didn't return by 6:15 p.m., her family grew worried. Elizabeth was afraid of the dark and cautious about staying out late. She certainly would not have willingly missed dinner without telling her mother. The Ottens desperately called friends, but no one had seen Elizabeth since she skipped over to the Bustamantes earlier. Dread mounted as Patricia called the police to report her daughter missing.
The number of people searching for Elizabeth is massive. It's a third of the town.
Local law enforcement immediately began searching the area around the subdivision, knowing most abducted children are eliminated within 3 hours. They pinged Elizabeth's cell phone to trace its location to a wooded area behind the Bustamante property.
Receiving pings from Elizabeth's cell phone. 1, 2, then moments later, a third and final ping.
But even intensely combing those woods, they found no sign of the girl or her phone. With each hour, hope dimmed of finding Elizabeth unharmed. But no one could yet conceive of the horrific fate she had already suffered at the hands of her 15-year-old neighbor, Alyssa Bustamante. The friendly face that had lured sweet Elizabeth into the shadows held a capacity for violence no one in the shaken community could understand. But they would soon find out about the harshness hidden beneath a mask of normalcy. On that chilling October evening, Alyssa led her unsuspecting young neighbor Elizabeth down a remote path into the woods behind her home, according to her later confession. As shadows stretched over them, the reality of Alyssa's dark intent became horribly clear. She harshly strangled the little girl before causing injury to her throat with a knife. Not yet satisfied, Alyssa then intensely pierced Elizabeth with the same object. Having extinguished the final glimmer of her victim's innocent life, Alyssa concealed what's left of Elizabeth in a shallow grave dug days before with this unwanted purpose in mind. She hid the site beneath leaves as her concerned family called desperately for the girl. Then Alyssa cleaned herself up and carried on with her usual routine, even attending a church dance that same night. The next morning, authorities found Alyssa's diary detailing her extensive history of cutting and a disturbing entry hinting at her interest in murder. When asked if she had physically harmed Elizabeth, Alyssa coldly admitted to strangling and stabbing someone to death.
Is your throat cut? Yeah. Oh. Grandma. Oh my God.
She guided officers to the makeshift grave containing her severely harmed 9-year-old neighbor. Alyssa had committed this terrible act of murder simply out of curiosity about how killing might feel. Her cruel actions left Elizabeth's family devastated, the community shaken, and investigators disturbed by such senseless reasoning from someone so young. But what could have possibly led this seemingly ordinary teenager to such darkness? On November 17, 2009, 15-year-old Alyssa Bustamante was arraigned in court on charges of first-degree murder and armed criminal action in the horrific elimination of her 9-year-old neighbor, Elizabeth Olten. Despite having confessed and led police to Elizabeth's lifeless self, Alyssa pleaded not guilty. Legal proceedings carried on for over 2 years before Alyssa finally agreed to a plea deal. In January 2012, just weeks before her trial was to start, she pleaded guilty to the lesser charges of second-degree murder and armed criminal action to avoid facing the death penalty. At her February 2012 sentencing, Alyssa claimed if she could bring Elizabeth back, she would. The judge appeared unmoved by her remorse or her troubled upbringing detailed by her defense team over weeks of testimony. He ultimately sentenced her to life imprisonment plus 30 years, dashing her grandparents' pleas for leniency. In the years since, Alyssa made attempts to rescind her guilty plea, but was denied. Elizabeth's grieving mother, Patricia Price, filed and won a wrongful death civil suit against Alyssa for $5 million in damages, though financial compensation could never make up for her loss. Alyssa continues serving her sentence at an undisclosed facility, having forfeited any chance at freedom before 2054 due to one night of monstrous behavior. Her cruel actions marked the still surface of a quiet town and destroyed a promising young life full of joy and love. The lingering question is what drove this seemingly ordinary teen to commit such an extraordinarily alarming act? Despite extensive testimonies diving into her psychological state, the question of what ultimately caused Alyssa Bustamante to harshly end her young neighbor remains unsettled. There is often a fruitless effort to make sense of senseless actions and evil. While defense experts pointed toward Alyssa's traumatic early childhood, severe depression, and possible emerging personality disorders, such conditions hardly excuse her actions. Millions face challenges without causing harm to innocents. In the end, only Alyssa knows what chaotic cocktail of nature and nurture, what perfect storm within her troubled mind, led her to extinguish a bright young spirit who trusted her as a friend. Elizabeth will remain forever frozen in time, a cheerful little girl in pink boots, brimming with promise. While Alyssa serves out her days in the prison system, perhaps wrestling with her own demons, Elizabeth's family and the town of St. Martin's must carry on in her absence. Such effects of damage spread wide from a single act of unthinkable brutality. We all want to believe that small towns and young lives symbolize safety, innocence, and hope. But Alyssa's crime shattered that belief, leaving an enduring mark on the community. On a deeper level, it shook people's trust that darkness could not intrude upon the sacred normalcy of even children. St. Martin's carries on as a quiet country town like any other. But in its history, a long shadow will persist. Traces of the day a trusted neighbor led a little girl into the woods and brutally ended her life for reasons we may never fully understand. The effects of Alyssa's choice continue spreading outward even as she remains locked away, carrying consequences beyond her years. Before you head out, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell. This way, you'll continue to be updated on the latest true crime cases we uncover. We're so thankful to have you as part of our community. Stay curious and remember, even closed books hold untold pages waiting patiently for revelation. Thanks for joining us, and we can't wait to see you in our next exploration. Until next time.